Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's me, B. Riley, and today we're actually going to be doing a short video, just kind of a quick feeler for this guitar that just fell into my lap. Well, actually, it just didn't fall into my lap. This thing came in for repairs a couple months ago, but as I'd mentioned in a couple of the previous videos, my schedule's been really out of control, so I only got a chance to really get into this thing and repair this thing over the last couple days. So let's go ahead and have a look at this thing right now. Okay, so like I was saying before, this thing came in with a bunch of repairs, and I just kind of wanted to share it with you guys really quick because it's just, it's very interesting. And I know I only have like about 20 minutes until the fella comes and picks it up. He's a super cool guy and was very understanding that the deadline had to keep getting pushed. You know, but that's the thing about guitar repairs, you know, and it's the same thing as all repairs. There's kind of that saying that they have, you know, the service guys have, which is, you know, you can have a quick, you can have a good, or you can have a cheap. But you can't pick all three. It's the two. You know, so for this guy, because he's a friend of a friend, and he's actually a really hilarious guy, you know, we're gonna try to get him an awesome deal. But you know, we got a little backed up. Anyway, so this is the guy. It's a 1977 Gibson Melody Maker that has been very modified over the last couple of years. So as we're taking a look at it, obviously we've got a pair of humbuckers that are sitting on a one-off pickguard. The humbuckers in this guitar are fantastic. They're brilliant. I know that there are some purists right now who are probably having a heart attack because many years ago this thing was routed out, and when they routed it out kind of strangely. You might notice that this humbucker is actually sitting a little bit back a bit, and the reason is because when they routed, instead of getting into the neck pocket, they actually dug into the body, which, to tell you the truth, actually is a bit preferable. And the reason is because you really don't want to go messing around with that neck joint. The humbucker at the bridge is where the original pickup would have been. This was likely a one pickup model, probably with a P90 at the bridge. And during the 1960s and 70s, everybody was yanking P90s out of guitars and throwing in humbuckers. I mean, you didn't have a lot of stomp boxes back then, so you really had to get creative with your signal. The wiring has been completely rewired. I know that because I got in there. It's definitely not factory. And they've changed the tuners on it, which is pretty standard fare stuff. As far as for vintage gear, you know, you want that stability. You know, you want to be able to take this thing on stage. But the reason that I wanted to show it to you guys is because I just want you to listen to this thing, because this thing is just brilliant. It sounds just nightmarishly ferocious. This thing is very, it's got a really hot signal. I'm not too sure exactly where the pickups are coming from. Looks like 70s Gibson, but the stampings are all worn out on the back, and you really can't tell. This thing's definitely been rewired a couple hundred times. Anyway, let's go ahead and plug it in. Okay, so had a quick listen to this thing, played it. Couple things about this. Obviously, it's an older model and it's got a bunch of stuff that's been kind of thrown at it. The gentleman who actually owns this and dropped it off for repair, if memory serves, he bought it brand new. He actually is the owner of the 81 Strat that we reviewed a couple months ago, the one that actually, I thought it was 79, I wasn't too sure. Anyway, he had actually bought this brand new and he's had it since he was a wee kid, which is pretty awesome. It's kind of rock and roll. So it's got modifications done to it, but the modifications were done with love. Like they were done with the best of intentions in mind. You know, sometimes you see modifications and they're really a hack job and they're really not coming together. But this brings up an interesting point, and the reason that I'm talking about this is kind of the subject that I was going off of and why it's going to be a shorter video, is that something I've realized is that, you know, the market right now is, obviously it's super inflated. Everything's expensive as hell because of COVID and because of supply chain and because of blah, 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 whatever reasons you can come up with. I'm sure there are many. But that being said is that there's a particular part of the market that does not seem to be responding to this bump in cost, and that is refinished or highly modified vintage player guitars. They're still hovering at like a really reasonable level. I'm watching brand new guitars go out the door for $1,500 or $1,600. I'm on Facebook pages or Instagram pages where people are on Strat or Tele pages, or Jazzmaster or Jaguar pages. And they're throwing down like $1,500 and $2,000 for brand new guitars. And that's totally okay. But the only problem is that, you know, when you see people doing that, what you forget is that, you know, those instruments are like new cars. One of the biggest parts of them that is enticing is that they're new. But once you buy it, it's not new anymore. So now your cost starts to fluctuate. So you're buying gear, and if you don't wind up hanging on to it, you wind up losing money. So, you know, keep your eyes out for the vintage stuff that's been modified or been serviced or been changed. Any of you guys who follow the channel, you're familiar with the white 65 Mary Kay translucent matching headstock, bound neck Jag that we did the full restoration on. And I'm going to be honest, that thing cost barely more than like a Vintera. You know, I granted it was in a basket and it was in bits and you had to do all this work for it and stuff like that. And, you know, money's tight and it never feels good to throw down a lot of money for something that doesn't work ultimately, you know, but these things can be totally reborn and brought right out of the ashes. I mean, the Jag was totally shot. I'm going to be honest, when this thing came in, this thing was a disaster. I mean, it was barely playable. It was very, very dirty. It was well loved. But, you know, that's the thing about these. You know, they get mileage on them. And some people can't look past the dirt or look past the missing screws or the rusty strings, you know, and you know, the thing about that is you're really cutting yourself out of, you know, a really exciting market to be able to dabble in, to be able to buy into and invest into and be able to make money off of as well, by going through the refinished or through the modified players route. Because when it all shakes out, as long as it's not too far gone and as long as the modifications aren't too out of hand, most of the guitars can be brought back around with a little bit of refinish work, you know, and any improvement is a good improvement. And that's another good thing about refinished or modified vintage guitars. You know, they've already had that done. So you don't have to worry about being the villain if you bring your guitar into Moe's down in La Mesa and they look at you like, you know, you've got a third eye growing on your head because your guitar's got all these modifications that are not factory. You could always just turn around and be like, hey, last guy did it. And then you look like the hero because you're bringing it in and you're kind of getting it back up to speed. You know, the truth of it is it's a plank of wood. And, you know, as long as you can suss out the electronics and everything like that, then it's not too bad. As far as these melody makers go, these are still very, very cheap. I don't know why. These things, I literally have seen guitars along this line going for $1,100. I don't get that. I don't understand how you can charge $1,100 for a vintage Gibson like this. Granted, it's a student model, but I mean, really, who cares? I mean, you know, binding is great, but I mean, it isn't going to make or break the tone. you know, the truth of it is that these things are just, they're going to shoot up in price. I mean, once they start to disappear, once they start to become less common, you know, because they did get modified early on. They did get beat up. They did get thrown around. They were student guitars. And a lot like the shoebox 1950s Chevrolets and Fords that came out, everybody always threw the wagon in the dumpster because everybody thought you'd want the sport coupe. You know, everybody wants to hang on to their Les Paul Standard, but they don't want to baby a melody maker. But when it really shakes out later on, that particular philosophy being employed by many is the exact reason why these are going to be worth a lot of money in the future, because people are just not looking at them proportionately as far as the quality of the guitar and the stupidity of a deal that you can get when you're dropping just $1,100 for these things. Plays wonderfully, sounds just the business. It looks cool as hell, and you can go out and get one of these for less than a Joan Jett Signature. I mean, and that's a brand new guitar that's just not going to hold its value until it, like this, gets so friggin' old that they're just not easy to find. They're just not easy to get a hold of. You're not finding them in every guitar, you know, center or every guitar shop or all over eBay. When things start to become, you know, rare, it doesn't matter what it is. It's going to go up in cost, because even if only 2 people on the planet want it, those 2 people are going to have to battle it out for what you are holding in your hands, what has got value to you and what could be valuable to them. Anyway, just kind of kicking it around. It's a Sunday. My schedule has been completely out of control at this point. I have been going for 7 days a week now for quite a few months. So trying to fit in the repairs has been difficult. And, you know, trying to get in there and make videos is also very, very difficult. But hopefully, luckily, it looks like next week, finally, things are going to relax. So that's going to be really, really good, which is great because I got a bunch of different videos to show you guys, and I got a couple new amps that I've been toying around with, and I definitely want to bring those to the table and have you guys, you know, get a sneak peek at them. Anyway, this was just a good opportunity to kind of share this one real quick. You know, a real short video today, just kind of a chill, kick it around type of thing on a Sunday. This guy will be here any minute to pick this thing up, so I'm sure he'll probably wind up coming strolling in as I'm playing it. But he's a real good sport, so I'm sure he won't mind. Anyway, have a beautiful afternoon. Enjoy what's left of your weekend. And you know, make sure you plug in tonight and get loud. And do yourself a favor. Plug in something with humbuckers tonight and get noisy as hell. I got to be honest, I've been using single coils with the Jag and with the Telecaster and the Strat a lot lately. Been staying off the Pauls. And you know, you just can't deny these things. When these things plug in, they just wake up a part of your playing that dares you to play faster, dares you to play louder, dares you to play more obnoxious and go for runs that maybe you really don't have in your hip pocket just yet. And I really like that. You know, this is a guitar that challenges you, but at the same time as it challenges you, it really does reward, you know, some good playing. Anyway, have a lovely day. Enjoy your evening. Go ahead and plug in, get noisy as hell, and I'll see you guys next week.